Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cosmic Metamorphosis. My name is Kat. I hope all of my soul family is doing well. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Hopefully, if you've been on my YouTube channel and hopefully you have found me on BitChute, I was booted off for 2 weeks and I couldn't load any videos on YouTube. So hopefully you found me on BitChute. Anyway, I hope all of you are doing well. The energies are very strong again. Um, People feeling lots of things. And I got a little bit of puffiness today in my eyes. Um, I've been working a lot. So I got another week of working 5 days instead of only 4. So today's one of my days off, so I am making this video. So, okay, today I'm actually gonna go back and do the September 16th Alex Collier's question and answer webinar that I didn't get to do. I skipped ahead to his one after that. And then I have to transcribe the one he just did on October 7th still. But anyway, I want to tell you guys a little something about what's been happening in my world. Um, so I was at work last week on the 5th, and I just thought it was very strange that this all happened in one day. And I'm telling you, people are waking up finally. Like they're waking up. Even though you don't think they are, there's a lot more people waking up. They just don't really say anything to many people. So I was at work. I had uh, two older gentlemen that came in, and they were both wearing Trump hats, which I had never seen around here before. I saw someone with a Trump bumper sticker in the parking lot all on the same day. Another guy came in who was he's kind of like the landlord of the property, but he's not really landlord. I guess he's more of a maintenance guy. And he was talking about the rapture and hoping that it's coming soon because he's like, I'm ready. I'm just ready. I'm ready for the rapture. And I was just thinking, oh my God, what is going on today? Like the energies are just so incredible. And then on my way home, we have these little coffee shacks throughout our town, and one of them, they have those digital signs. One of them was um, promoting the 2000 Mules movie, and I was like, what? Oh, wow, oh my gosh, stuff's finally getting like out there to the public, even in this little town. And then I go down to like this main corner coming into our town, and there's a guy on the corner, okay, standing in like black and white camouflage. And although he's got a face covering, he's covering his face, he's got a hat on, he's carrying his AR 15 or whatever. It was, it was a gun. He was carrying that, and he was picketing. And it said something about, I will not be disarmed by the pedophiles in DC. And I was like, fell out of my like chair. It was incredible. I was like, wow. So people are waking up, okay? People are waking up, and I really think it's it's time. This time is coming, where we're, this EBS we've been waiting for. Something is definitely going to happen. 107 keeps talking about the 29th of October. Could be sooner than that. We just don't know. Another weird thing that's been happening to me, and I don't know if it's been happening to other people, um, but if you watch my videos, I've talked about me getting, like when I try to go to sleep at night, in between falling asleep and being awake, if I hear sound, I get a vision of like a geometric pattern. Um, But lately, I've been getting pictures. I've been getting pictures like that sent to me, not like just with a sound, but all of a sudden I'll get these flashes of pictures. And some of them are just so fast that I don't remember what they are, but a few of them have stood out. Um, I don't know if I said this on my last video. I had one about a week and a half ago or so. It was the last couple of days of September, and it said in big red letters 12 days. And so that kind of puts it around like today, tomorrow the 10th. Today's the 10th. So like the 10th or 11th. So we'll see if anything happens. I don't know, could not. Um but I had one the other day. Um and the only thing I could remember from like they're almost like a post-it. I don't know. And I just get this vision, okay, and stuff written on it. So it said all eyes on TV 11-3-4. And I didn't think anything of those numbers until I started saying it out loud, and I was like, oh wow, that's like letter 17. Okay, like 11.3, 11.4. Those are supposed to be like huge markers or things happening. So we don't really know if that's a date or if that's just an event like number. Who knows? But anyway, so I got that. All eyes on TV. I thought that was really interesting. Okay. And then I was sitting on my bed the other night and I'm doing stuff, looking through stuff on Telegram, and I see this really huge shadow go across my wall. And I thought, okay, that wasn't the headlights of a car or anything. It was a shadow, and it was a big one, and it kind of came in once and then came in again and then it disappeared. And so I telegrammed my friend and I'm like, wow, I've got these things happening to me. Like I'm getting these visions. And then I like got this shadow the other night and it wasn't anything scary. It was just like I acknowledged it and I said, hey, I see you, as long as you're nice, you're fine. Like I just want to let you know I acknowledge you and that you're here. So anyway, I telegrammed my friend and she telegrammed me back and she said, oh my gosh. She said, I've been seeing shadows too. And I was like, wow. She goes, even my Reiki, the lady I go to for Reiki, has been seeing shadows, lots of shadows and just odd things all of a sudden. So frequencies are definitely increasing, vibrations are increasing, and every time, I mean, I feel like it's every other day now, we're getting like these huge blasts from our sun. That definitely is doing something to wake us up, to thin the veil. And I've mentioned before, there was a lady that did a whole study about the symptoms of these solar flares on people, and her name was Dr. Heather Carlini. And there's only one like article you can find if you do a search for her, but I think someone needs to do an interview with her, and I'm tempted to see if I can get a hold of her just to see if I could do an interview. It would be very interesting. But anyway, I just thought I would let you guys know that. I don't know if anybody else is seeing weird things like that. Let me know. But today, okay, so we're gonna do September 16th, Alex Collier's question and answer, number 27. So he says, before we get started, I came across a website, and the name of the website is called findaspring.com. And apparently, wherever you live in the world, this website is supposed to tell you where there's springs, where you can go and get fresh water, drinking water. In the event something happens in your city or town, you can jump in your car, providing you have gas, he says, and you can go get some drinking water. So findaspring.com. It's funny because he says that, and I saw that website years ago. So now he's bringing this up. So it says, because We can go a couple weeks without food, but we can't go without water. He says, okie dokie. Says there's also something else before we get to the questions, and I'm just going to read this. It says this came from t.metruth.extra, and I believe that's a Telegram site. He says, so I'm just going to read this because you just can't make this shit up. He says China has introduced a smart quirk system. AI will now make decisions officially in order to avoid human mistakes. The judge is only an observer in the process. Moreover, if he does not agree, he is obliged to explain to the AI in writing that there is no way to change the AI's decision. This is the future of the Luciferian billionaire's plan for the dystopian Hell's Gate future that they want to plan for all the common people. It says now, there's a real interesting caveat to this. Eventually, we won't even have humans to make our case or our defense, because it is the opinion that they only want us to be obedient, no matter what the circumstances are, and because we would no longer have natural rights as a human being, since we would no longer be human. Once your DNA has been re-edited by this gene editing injections, says that they call the new, at that point, we would literally be called hybrids and no longer humans. This is the CCP in China. And he laughs. He says, are we having fun yet? Gosh. Isn't it crazy? It's crazy. Like they really want to turn us into, cyborgs. The Borg. Or, like Battlestar Galactica, the Cylons. Like, you can't make this up. So first question. I hear that the forbidden Tesla towers are being erected in the UK and the US in Texas. Is this true, and will Terrans finally break free of the techs that Deep State is preventing us from possessing? So this would save many lives this winter. And Alex answers, that's an excellent question. There are towers going up. There are still some existing towers that exist in buildings, on towers, steeples. He says all they have to do is be hooked up. He says, reconnected to the Earth's grid. He says there's also technologies such as the high wire lines that could very easily be converted to antenna. He says there's also, especially in Europe, a lot of very old original Tesla technology that is on the ground and on private property and other places that will still work. All you have to do is turn it on or reconnect it. He says, so what will happen this winter? He says, that's an excellent question. I sincerely hope that September, October, November, that there is a very genuine, benevolent move to protect humanity. He says it looks that way. It looks like that's what's going to happen, but no one exactly knows how it's going to roll out, or no one exactly knows the plan, because it's probably just a handful, maybe 10, that know everything. It says because this is real life chess, and you never show your enemy your moves ahead of time, ever. So we're just going to have to see. What we can do is we're just going to have to help each other. The United States of America has enough natural gas to essentially provide fuel for the entire Earth for at least 400 years. We have enough petroleum for 250 years. And he says to even go down to To even go down this road is just insanity. He says it really is. He says, but I think that's part of the plan, is to show us how corrupt and criminal and manipulative this system we've been living under truly is, and the people running it. How corrupt and manipulative and anti-human their agenda truly is. That they will go out of their way to hurt so many people for no reason whatsoever. And I think once we get that, he says, once we all see that and it sinks in, that will change the way we do things. That will change the people, the elect. Um, that will be the paradigm shift of which there will be no returning to being the obedient, compliant slaves that we have been. Most of us not even realizing that. That's the role we've been playing. It says, so I think that's all part of the strategy, is to make every single individual become totally self-confident and free to unconditionally be responsible for themselves without being coerced by some higher authority. He says that every time. Hi, Amber. Hi. He says, and as we move into free energy, which may take 5 to 10 years, honestly, he says that can be very much achieved. Now, we're all still going to have to deal with the electric car issue. He says there simply isn't enough lithium to provide car batteries for all electric cars. It's just simply not on the planet. He says it's not doable. So something else is going to have to occur if that's the direction we're going to go, or it's probably going to end up being both electric and petroleum, gasoline, diesel. He says it'll probably be a combo of both. Oh, I've got Binks in here today too. He's down there. He says, now with free energy, if the Tesla towers can get put up and everything goes as it should, he says you could put electric antennas on cars and you could drive unlimited as long as the machine continued to work. He says you would need just maybe a single battery in order if something were to happen to get you off a freeway or to get you to a shop, a mechanic, or somewhere, wherever it is. He says there's a million different scenarios, but there simply isn't enough lithium to do even 2 billion cars that are electric. It isn't here. He says, so that plan is stupid to begin with. He says, I mean, electric cars are great, but you got to be able to fix them. You got to be able to drive them. And battery technology is just not there yet. I know, babies. What are you doing? He's playing with my cover. Next question. In last week's webinar, you mentioned we would be getting assistance concerning multidimensional attacks. Would you please elaborate on that? And he answers, on a conscious level, many of us are already in fourth density. Our physicality is adjusting now and is ascending and is adjusting to the new frequencies. I believe that's why they're blacking out the Schumann resonance, because they don't want us to know. Those on 4D that are here assisting, and let's just call them the Alliance, those that are here assisting are very familiar with lower 4D astral entities. And there's a lot of trash there. There's some very serious darkness that exists on that level. They're already in the process of helping and assisting, and essentially what they're trying to do is they're trying to clear. I think they're calling them white zones, where they're able to clear a bandwidth between upper third and lower fourth. It's almost like a fencing. And what they're doing is this area, this white zone, vibrates in higher fourth density. So it's literally a portal. He says, I guess is a good word for it. He says a portal, And those of us moving into fourth will be directed or steered into this white zone as we continue to evolve. And all the riffraff and the trash that would be normally trying to attack and suck your energy would literally be held at bay. And I understand that there's going to be 11 of these portals, these white zones, and they're going to get set up all over the place, all over the planet. When he said that, it reminded me when I went to the Assetti Ranch and saw George Cavassalis, and he talked about these portals that were going to be opening, and we would literally just step through it. So I kind of wondered if, that, as Alex talks about, like, how people, speaking about these exopolitic things going on, like, you have to find the commonality of what they're saying. So when Alex talks about that, and then I think George talking about the portals opening, just reminded me of that. So very common stuff between the two. He says, and this will also apply to those who transition from physical life into the afterlife. It says they will be directed through these white zones, so they will immediately move into upper fourth density. It says, as much work as they're doing, they're still cleaning things out. It says, but they're all in. They're all in on making this happen, and the reason for that is they understand very well that we have been information, knowledge, and regarding our world and our spiritual world around us, we have very little knowledge about it because it's been withheld from us. Not only that, but these dark areas, these energies were encouraged by regressive ETs, regressive aliens, by regressive dimensional beings to come in here and feed off of us. Bastards, right? Bastards. To keep our frequency low. And so we would continue to be a food source, that we would not be able to escape this realm, that we would find ourselves in. So that's why we're getting the extra help, the extra push, the hand down to lift us up, and it's going to be okay. It is. We're going to be learning a lot, as we already are, but we're going to be learning a lot about all the things we've been living with and simply didn't realize was there. And there's going to be a lot of, oh my God, moments. There is. And it's already begun. As we continue this process, we're seeing things. There are people photographing with cameras, videos, their phones, CCTV, these entities, ultraviolet, infrared, these entities that are around us that we can't see. He says, well, they've been there. He says, as we continue to move in frequency, we're going to be able to see all those things ourselves in the physical, but we will know what to do. We will know how to keep them at bay. That information is making its way to us in a multiple of different ways. Just remember, though, you don't want to be in fear. There is no reason to be in fear because it is the manner and custom that when entering one's space, that permission be asked. If you declare your sovereignty, they cannot screw with you. It's that simple. There'll be more with that in the next few weeks. And I said this in one of my earlier videos when I talked about dreams. And if you're getting attacked while you're dreaming, if you're conscious enough in your dreams, I used to have nightmares my whole life. And until just over like the last 10 years, I started being able to control things, and I was aware I was dreaming while I was dreaming. And so when I would get these negative things trying to get at me, I literally would tell them, get away from me. You are not allowed to be around me. You're not allowed to be in my space. leave, get the fuck away from me. And they left. And knock on wood, it's been a very long time since I had anything trying to get to me. I've had a few dreams where I've had like weird, like kind of fearful things, but no one was like trying to get me anymore. So stand up for yourself and tell them to leave you alone. Okay? It is that simple. Next question. If Admiralty law is really gone with the Queen, when will we see evidence of this? What should we be looking for right off the bat? Alex says that's a good question. If you begin to look at all the events going on around the world, whether it's Australia, New Zealand, he says the United States, even Britain, if you're looking at the flags, what you will begin to see is that not only are the flags different, there's no longer gold fringe any longer. See, sometimes there is and sometimes there isn't. You just have to watch and pay attention. So he says, all of that's gone. Now, for those in the United Kingdom, he says, when Trump went over in 2017 and he had the stack of files that NSA and the Q team had put together about the behavior of not only the monarchy, but others, and then did the same with many other countries. And then he went to the Vatican. Would it surprise you to know that the two trusts that the Vatican created, and the third trust, which was Admiralty law, that I think it was King George created, putting everyone under Admiralty law. Would it interest you to know that when the Queen died, that third trust was gone? She signed off that it would no longer exist, nor would the monarchy as it is now, and the Pope signed off on the other two trusts as well. That they would that they would no longer exist, which of course the Vatican, he says, I think the first one was in 1376 or 1316. He says, I can't remember the dates so much anymore. There's so much going on. But anyway, it was established that the Vatican owned not only the planet, but everything on it. That's what I say. In perpetuity. So no matter what was added, they owned it. And the second trust was that they owned all souls, past, present, and future, even when they died. The Vatican still owned our souls. Only they would come up with something like that fucking stupid, he said. So those are gone. Those are going away. They will be history if they aren't already. And I think the trigger for that would now be the death of the Pope. Allegedly, he says it's coming, or he's going to step down, and there'll be no Pope after him, because they will disclose what the Catholic Church, the Vatican, really is, and what it was actually all about. There's some YouTube videos. There was a nun, and God, I forget her name. It's off the top of my tongue, and I can't remember, but I bookmarked it. And she came out in the 80s, late 80s, early 80s, and talked about her whole experience with the Catholic Church, and how, like, when she was a teenager, she joined and she had to go through this ritualistic what is it, the red dress ceremony or something, where they get married to the priest of where they are. Okay, so the priest can have sex with these nuns, these girls. It's horrific. It's horrific. I'll try to remember to post the link down below. I mean, if you get a chance to listen to her, it will blow your mind about the things that were going on in these missionaries and these churches and nunneries and things like that. I mean, it's insane. It's insane. she escaped from it. But once she kind of came out and talked about this, when she did this, coming out with this speech, she was dead 2 weeks later. So it was really interesting. Anyway, he says, yeah, what it was actually about. He says, and the seizure of the Vatican Bank will be the final nail in the particular coffin. He says, these are all things that are coming in the very near future, ladies and gentlemen, the very near future. You can see the system being taken down everywhere. For example, the Pope disbanding the Knights of Malta. That was huge. That was huge. Yes, it was. Says, so see, there's a lot of things that are happening that a lot of people really aren't paying attention to, probably because they don't understand the significance of it. But these are huge moves that are eroding the power structure of the old empires. Most folks just don't understand what they mean yet. It says, but there are things going on in the background. If you're paying attention, you will see some very subtle changes. You just have to keep watching. The problem for us here in the States is that we have a media here that's for shit. It says it really is. It's for shit. It's so corrupt. It's so full of it. He says, if we get a genuine, accurate weather report, he says, our jaws drop. It's like, wow, did they just really tell us something that's true? Said, it's that bad. Just keep on moving, he says. Keep on learning, keep on loving, and we will push through all this stuff because everything's going to be all right. It really is. We're just going to get into the muck now. We're in the swamp. We're up to our ankles. The next move is to our knees. And then after that, we're in it up to our waist. But we have to go there. We all have to see it. We do. We have to be in the swamp. We have to walk through the swamp in order to know what it really is and what it is really all about, so that we can teach future generations not to ever do this again and what to look for so it never rears its head again in the future. So that's the best analogy I can give you. We won't get into it up to our necks, but the waist is nasty enough. We'll all get it, up to our waist. But what we're seeing is the dismantling. Pay attention. There's a lot of little things. There's a lot of little cues being dropped and being shown in the background. For example, the Queen's hearse, the wrinkled flag. Those all mean things in military law. They do. A wrinkled flag, crumpled flag means one's a traitor. The license plate on the hearse, WH 4597. You think that was a coincidence? No, nothing is a coincidence at this point. They are speaking to us every day with something. So if you don't know what that means, WH, I believe they said it's White Hats 45, which is Trump, President 45. 97 was the year that Diana died. So numerology, numbers, things in the background, there's a lot of conversation going. And what's interesting is that once you begin to pay attention to that and you catch it, what's very beneficial about this is that we continue to move into fourth density. As we're going to begin to see more and more in the background of our reality we've never seen before. See? Things going on around you all the time. Pay attention. Pay attention, family. Pay attention. Write it down. Get a journal. Okay. says, it's just like when I went up to the fifth density on the ship. He says, there were things I could not see, and some of those things I never saw, and others took the full 91 days for me to see, because my mind could not comprehend what I was looking at. He says, well, this is the same scenario for all of us here in third dimension. There are things that have been going on in the background that we simply did not see. That's all changing. This is the exact same premise. You're beginning to see things that were going on in the background that you simply never thought about. Therefore, you didn't see. And now you're beginning to see it. It's only going to get better and more interesting from here. Okay, just be patient with yourself and maybe keep a notepad, see, and with you, or a journal. And if you're out and about and you see something and you're like, wow, that's odd, or that's interesting, write it down in your journal and then share it. And maybe others of us know what it is that you just saw, or have another piece that will tie together with it, is that you, with what you saw. He says, I mean, that's what we're here to do, all right, is for soul groups to help each other evolve, to watch each other's back. And this is the culmination of it. This is the coming together of humanity to not only protect itself, but to create a framework that is authentic for future generations. Yeah, so like I said, you guys are experiencing anything odd, weird, shadows, seeing shadows a lot more, getting these visions, these flashes of pictures, like, let me know. Let me know, because I'm really interested to see like what's going on with everyone. Next question. You made me smile last week when you said, would it not be nice if Diana turned up at the funeral? My internal feeling is Charles will never be coronated. To tell you the truth, for me, it's not even him. What are your feelings on this? For my feelings, it's not him. It's not the same person. They don't look alike at all. And that puffiness in his hands, I don't know if that's a glove or what the hell's going on with that, but yeah, now they're saying that he's ill, that he may not make it to be king, that William's gonna have to step in. So he says, I agree with you that it isn't him. I agree with you, and I do not think he'll be coronated. And I'm hoping that William says, no, I don't want it, because they set William up to be the Antichrist. If 107 is correct, and I addressed that last week as well, he really has to sit there and think about this. Is this the legacy I want? Is this what I want for me and my family? And because it ends very badly for him, and the pain and suffering that it would cause the rest of his family, especially his wife and children. He says, I mean, what dad wouldn't think about that shit? It's not like they need the money. They don't need the money. It's all negative field for him. And he'll probably be approached with the white hats, MI5, MI6, maybe United States, maybe French Secret Service. He says maybe they'll approach him and say, look, we rescued your mom from this shit. You don't have to go there. Just let it all go. He says, just let it all go and live your life without all this ridiculous control and satanic protocols. Just live your life. And this will probably happen when Charles crosses over, or the fake Charles, or he is told to abdicate and step down, if he already hasn't been approached by that. It'll be really interesting, won't it? I mean, it's just getting so exciting, and I'm just so happy, and I hope you guys are too, because it's here. It's here, and we're just waiting for like the ending, the true ending to come, and all this comes flooding out. So I'm excited. So Alex says, because we don't need this. None of us need this. What we need is to be free. What we need is to be responsible for ourselves. What we need is the leashes and the reins taken off of us so that we can expand and explore and explode with our own creativity and authenticity because there are billions of great souls here. Absolutely. Absolutely great souls, he says, with unlimited potential and a line of those behind us wanting to come into this physicality. We can make an amazing change throughout the galaxy, if not beyond that. Because for our race, with all of its potential, all of the DNA attributes, all of the multidimensional soul groups that are here to free itself with help from this control that we have been under for thousands of years is an extraordinary moment. And when we step forward and we declare our Declaration of Independence and we move forward with, let's say, a Bill of Rights for all of humanity everywhere, that's a very, very clear message to everyone. You have no right to fuck with anybody else. If you want to screw up yourself, you go ahead and do it. But you have no right to do any of this to anyone else, ever. Once that's in the consciousness of everyone, there's no turning back. This type of suppression and enslavement by any other civilization would be hard-pressed to ever succeed ever again. There's a lot to do here yet. He says there is. It is not an accident that we are who we are genetically. And it's not an accident that we have these absolutely remarkable soul groups here from each of the dimensions and physicality here at this particular moment. I guess what I'm trying to say, ladies and gentlemen, there's a whole lot more going on here that has yet to be revealed. But we have to step into our power first and free ourselves, and then we go about our business freeing the rest of the galaxy. But it has to come in stages. We have to continue to evolve and mature, going through the process ourselves, so that we can teach it from experience to others. Hoorah! Says. Next question. What do you make of the Schumann resonance not being online for several days? And thanks for the Friday events. I love listening to the no bullshit commentary. Alex says, well, thank you. He says, it's nice to have you here. I believe the Schumann was off 8 or 9 days in a row. They kept those numbers away from us. Like I said earlier, there's a lot more going on than we realize. And again, I think the ultimate lesson here is for us to empower ourselves. Do we need the internet to give us information? So see, that becomes a crutch. Because what happens is we continue to gather information from outside of ourselves. And when we no longer do that, we gather information from within. And we know what it is, and we trust what it is. We trust what we're getting. We're trusting and building more and more confidence and reliability in our own intuition, and we don't need this technology. What happens is we become, instead of digital warriors, we become senseis. We become gurus. We become Jedi. Yes, because we're at one with Source. And we stop wandering and we move on a path of knowing. He says, I'm at a point where I don't even like carrying a cell phone anymore. I don't even want it on me. And it might surprise you guys to know that. He says, my computer's off most of the time now. It's just like, I don't know if there's any more I could add to that. There is going to come a point where you're just going to have to trust yourself to know what it is that you need to know. There's talk about the grid going down. the internet being taken down. He says, oh my God. He says, I would love to see the young people with no internet, where their phones won't work, there's no video games, there's no TikTok, no YouTube. They're just gonna have to talk to people. I would love that too. That would be great, right? They wouldn't even know what to do. Wouldn't even know what to do. We had it great growing up, like in the 70s, 80s, 90s. Those were good times. We went outside and we played. We didn't have internet, we didn't have games. I think it was the 80s before we had Atari, you know, video games. We didn't have computers. We went outside every day and played. Ran around barefoot, you know, rode our bikes without helmets. Okay. I had a neighbor like last week yelling at their kid because they were riding their bike without their helmet, and I just I just had to laugh because I thought, "Oh my God, you're such an idiot." Like, really, do you really think, like, come on. Our generation rode around our bikes without helmets. We took boards, we made ramps. We would jump those ramps with our bikes, with our skateboards, you know, climb trees, drink out of your water hose. Like, you weren't in the house pretty much all day unless you wanted to go in to use the bathroom or grab a snack or something. You played hide and seek. We were out till dark sometimes and until your mom called you in, yelling out the front door, come in, dinner time, or whatever. We had fun. I made mud pies on the sidewalk. I would go mix up mud, or you do it. I did it at school with sand. Like, you make a pile of sand and you'd put your elbow in it to do a dip, and then you'd go grab water in your mouth from the drinking fountain, and then you'd go and you'd spit it in and you'd make a bowl, and yeah, a lot of us did that. I don't know who else did that, but we did that at school. But I made mud pies at home, and I'd do them on the sidewalks or on the curb, and then I would go pick flower petals and I would sprinkle them on there and make little mud flower pies. We had a blast. Like, we just had a blast. That was the best time, and kids just don't get to experience those things anymore. Those were good times. He says they're gonna have to be in their own head. Personally, he says, I think it would be a blessing. Says, even for my kids, I think it would be a blessing. They would have to have conversations, genuine conversations, and not text each other in the next room because they think that's a conversation, and it isn't. There's no exchange of energy. Says, well, I'm heading in that direction anyways for me. To me, all this technology becomes a leech, and I fucking resent it. He says, I really do. And he laughs and he says, I really do. But that's me. Next question. Do you see Trump being imprisoned? And if so, will the good and he while JP's reading this, so he says, will you see him being imprisoned, and if so, the good? And Alex says no. Will the good military liberate him, whether he's being imprisoned in a facility or house arrest? And Alex says, do I see him in prison? And he says, now are you equating being arrested as being imprisoned? He says, no, they're not the same. At least I would never see that as the same. If he meant to be the first one arrested, I don't know yet. Is it something the deep state would do? Absolutely. He says, when I was talking about how we're all focused on September 24th, there's all this other stuff going on. It says, the judge that appointed a special master to look into this case, that judge has been literally bitch slapping the Attorney General Garland of the US, saying, what do you think you're doing? Do you know that the FBI, when they went into the skiff at Mar-a-Lago, they were carrying their cell phones, They went in there with their phones. That violates all the Department of Defense protocols, all national security laws, and the FBI doesn't even pay attention to its own protocols and regulations. He says they're running amok, and this judge is bitch slapping Garland, the Attorney General, for all this. And you see, no one's paying attention to this. This is big stuff, guys. This is huge stuff. This is exposing the deep state on every single level, and no one's really paying attention to it. We're not hearing about it. We have to pay attention to these things because they're all signs there's a huge shift in the establishment, and the old guard is literally being dismantled. It's being exposed for what it is. You have so many whistleblowers that they need buses now to carry them and take them to places so they can actually tell their stories, because they're not happy with what's going on, and they never should have been happy. They never should have allowed this to get this far. But they did it for their pensions, for their paychecks, for their careers. They compromise themselves in a way to a great deal. It says, but they're not willing to commit treason or sedition, where some of the others have, and they're going to be taken down for that. It's just that it was deeper than anyone realized. That's why it's taking a little longer, because it's deeper. Whether it's Trump who's the first one who's arrested or not, I don't know. It says, I've heard they would arrest him only to move him from harm's way. In my opinion, it has to start with Obama. It really needs to start with Obama. Wow, he said. Wow. There's a lot there. There's a lot there, more than anyone realizes. He says, we'll see. We'll see. They're taking them down, but they're not telegraphing their moves. Okay? Next question. Hey, Alex, do all or most of us human beings have the ability to heal others from disease, spike graphene, nano, with our hands and mind power? If so, what shall we do to train and cultivate this ability with us? And Alex says, wow. Says there are people, and this has been documented, who have been able to spontaneously heal themselves of disease and cancers, etc. Some people call them miracles. There have been others who've had the ability to lay their hands, and this type of ability goes back thousands and thousands of years. In fact, the Medici family was said to have this gift. The bloodline of Mary Magdalene is said to have this gift. Obviously, the bloodline of Yeshua is said to have this gift, and others. There have been many healers, shamans, Native American healers who have this gift. Reiki masters who have this gift because they understand everything is energy, and they have a profound knowledge of how that all works. So yes, however, what we are confronted with today is what the pharma companies have done to our bodies by experimenting on us. 1, without our knowledge, 2, without our consent, and 3, without any recourse against them. I'm not sure because we're still very unclear. And I'm just going to say this as a disclaimer. This is fiction. So hopefully I won't get booted. Okay. With what we're dealing with. For example, all the embalmers that are pulling out the things that they're finding in these bodies of the dead, structures that they're finding in the body that were never there before. Biologically, we're still trying to figure out what in fact they are. And then you have the hydras that have been added to some of the, that's a whole other level of fucked up, he says. So, just, what I see there. So, I do not know if we all have the ability, or a much more serious intervention needs to occur in order to heal people from these creatures that have been added to some of us without our knowledge and consent. I do know and I do feel that those who did this to us need to pay the ultimate penalty and price for betraying humanity. We can start with that. Whether the government has given them immunity or not, the government's not God, and it should never be allowed to play God either. So whether the pharma companies were given immunity by the government, it should not matter to us. As a race, as a civilization, they need to be held accountable for what they did, and we should hold them accountable. Enough is enough. And that's exactly how I see it. Who the hell do they think they are? Next question. Hugh says, saving Israel for last. Are you able to tell us what you know about the rollout of this information? And Alex says, whoa. He says, he's like, woo. That's what he was saying. He says, do I go there? He's questioning it. He says, I can't go there. He says, I just can't go there. Just understand that the Israeli people themselves are remarkable. So this is not a Jewish thing, okay? This is not a people thing. But there are very, very dark powers that control and live under Israel, that have been hiding behind the Israeli people. Most of them don't even know, just like we're self-discovering what's been going on here in this country, in the United States, and for many Brits, they're finding out what's been going on underground in their country, and Europe as well. It says the Ukrainian people are finding out what's been going on underneath their country as well, and the dark energies that have been hiding behind them. The modern everyday people, the good people, is the people who do most of the work. We're all on the same trajectory. Israel will Israel will be the period to this chapter of removing this dark evil that has been subjugating and manipulating and feeding off humanity. He says, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to leave it there. He says, at most, we're just a few years away from all of that becoming known, at most. But as you can tell, events are moving faster and faster and faster. So this will not be an overnight thing, because there's a lot of work to do yet. But it's cleanup. He says, see, it's cleanup. That's a different type of engagement as all-out war. Says, but the cleanup has to be thorough, and it has to be sterilized as well. Once it's cleaned, it's cleaned. So you have to go in and sterilize and then be thorough of it. Make sure you get it all. And we're dealing with multi-dimensional energies and off-world energies, okay? It's heavy, dark stuff. It is. It's heavy, dark stuff. Not everybody's going to want to know. They're just not, he says, and we have to be okay with that. As long as they understand going forward that this is what had to be done. This is what was done, and this is what we have to protect going forward and watch out for. We all have to be on the same page with that, because what we're doing now sets up the foundations for future generations. And we've got to own this moment. We do. We have got to own this moment. We were fitted to the times, which is now, to do this, okay? We were fitted to the times to do this. We came in to do this work. Whatever piece you have, we can reestablish and rebuild a foundation for humanity going forward that is prosperous, that is a spiritual foundation, that is a foundation that allows creativity and evolution, involvement, and the expression of free will in a responsible manner and to establish a code of rights and ethics for all living humanity on this planet and off-world as well. Because when you look at our struggle and the struggle that other evolving races have had to go through, those that have freed themselves and those that haven't or couldn't, the struggle is one of freedom. It's what it's about. It's about freedom. And whether it's third density reptilians or lower fourth density reptilians or Orion AI or other groups, whether they're from Alcyon or Aldebaran, Sirius B or Sirius B, when you are regressive, you have no right to fuck with other people, with other civilizations. You flat out don't have the right to do it. And we have to do everything we can once we're free and we understand the situation to make sure it doesn't ever happen again. We have an obligation to do that, and we are going to be in a unique position to teach what we've learned, and you won't know that and you won't appreciate that until it all comes to the surface. And we've got a lot of really great souls here that are doing the work, fighting the fight, on all different levels, including boots on the ground, that are here fighting the fight to help us get to that place. And once we understand and once we realize, once we see it 360 degrees, once we see our 360 degrees and we truly understand and appreciate what we've been up against and what we've done to be free, we're going to rise to the occasion. We're going to step up, move up, and we're going to step forward and say, this is not going to happen to anybody else because this is who we are. This is why we all fell down into time to right a terrible wrong. It's going to be okay. And when it's all said and done, we're going to be a force to be reckoned with. And wouldn't it be wonderful to have the regressives running from us, realizing that if we catch them, they're fucked? Wouldn't that be an interesting turn of events? And he laughs. Says, I'm being pretty open today about all this. He says, ladies and gentlemen, there comes a time when you have to take a stand against evil, and you're not tolerant because you realize they're never gonna stop. Tolerance is not the solution. Kicking their ass is the solution. Literally kicking their ass. That's the solution, and you'll all get there. You'll realize it at some point. Some of us already know. Some of us haven't been in this game for a while. We've seen things. We've experienced things. We've been screwed with. So we're already there. But the rest of you will come online. He says, yes, love is the answer. But what do you do with something that doesn't know love and simply doesn't want it? All it wants to do is own you, control you, or feed off of you, or kill you. What do? You remove it from the equation. That's what you do. That's where the warrior kicks in, and you're like, you don't have my permission, end of story, to enter my space. And if you do what you do, says you defend yourself and you do whatever is necessary. That's what's going on right now. That's what's going on right now. Says, you cannot always be the reflection of the light. Sometimes you just have to be the candle. You have to be the fire that burns. And that's what you came here to do. Okay? We came back in time to right a terrible wrong, to clean house, and that's what's happening. We are cleaning house. Next question. When viewing Earth, planets, and solar systems from fifth density, is it nothing like what we see because we're collectively creating from third density, a lower vibration? Do the Andromedans see something completely different than we do? And he laughs and he says, that's a great question. That's a really, really great question. He says, yes, they do. But some of the Palladians, Arcturians, and all the other groups that are here, that are fifth and fourth, of course, they see something different because they're already living in a different reality. This is why it's so important to pay attention to what it is we haven't been able to see. Because as we raise our vibration, we are moving into another field of reality. It could be likened to you live in Tupelo, Mississippi, and he kind of has this like southern accent while he's saying this. Tupelo, Mississippi. And you've grown up the whole time living there, and then you get in the car and you drive to Southern California. He says that's a whole other reality than Tupelo, Mississippi. And what it is you experience the change. You see things you hadn't before. You become aware of it. You interact with a very different type of people, with a different type of mentality. And what happens is you adapt. You incorporate what you're learning and experiencing. And then let's say you go to Canada, which is very different culture in a lot of ways, and their perspectives are different. And you incorporate that and you adapt. And when you go to Paris, France, he says, where again, you have a very different culture and you adapt and you incorporate what you've seen and learned there. That's the best analogy I can give you. When you're dealing with other races and other dimensional frequencies, what you're dealing with is not necessarily culture, but frequency. And that's why it has to happen the way it's been happening. Because as we begin to remember our multidimensional selves, we're also stepping into another dimensional realm, another frequency. And the consciousness that we take with us, we will be creating in that realm, and we will be responsible and will be held responsible for what it is that we create. So it's a process. It's like going from elementary school to college. It's on you. It's all on you. And if you don't step up, you're out of here. Not literally, but you're going to be held to a different standard. And because most of us are from those levels anyway, there is this period where we're going to be remembering. It's not like we don't know how to do it or we've never experienced it. We have. But it's a letting go of the old programming and it's stepping into our personal power and adapting to the new paradigm. When you die and you don't come back, you're in that new paradigm. You already know. There is just a brief period, and I don't even know how to time it, where you see your whole life. You understand the earth experience, but now you're in a completely different realm. And you're with those who've crossed over before you. And this could be very similar to that, except that what we're talking about is some of us will be taking our physicality with us. It says, I will say books will be written about this period, but we're the books. And he laughs and he says, we're the books. You know, there's a lot more smarter people that could have explained this better than I just did. He says, and I'm sure they will come forward and do that. And I would appreciate that because I want us all to get this. I do. I want us all to get this. I don't want anybody left behind, but I'm also aware of the fact that everyone makes their own decisions. And in the reality of things, you can't force anyone to do anything. It's on them ultimately. You can lead a horse to water. That's all you can do. Look at that. Everybody sleeping? My kitties are sleeping. Okay, next question. What will it take for us
To finally put a stop to the trafficking of the children worldwide and an end to the human trafficking worldwide once we're told and galaxy wide. I don't know if yeah, that question was kind of out of whack. They're basically asking what will we do? What will it take for us to finally put an end to all the trafficking, whether it's on world or off world? Alex says, all we can do is bring awareness to what's happening here on Earth. All we can do is end it here on Earth. All we can do is not only protect our own children, but all the children from this type of thing. One of the first things we should do is anyone who is convicted of human trafficking should get the death penalty. End of story, period. Anyone who participates in this organ harvesting gets the death penalty. He says, you don't fucking deserve to live with us. You may disagree with me, and that's okay. But that is how I see it. You don't get to live with us, and I make no apologies about it whatsoever. Those who are off world, who've been doing this, taking us, our people, our kids off world, we would make arrangements with other alliance groups that when they catch them, they bring those people back here and we put them to death. We end them from doing this. That's just how I see it. It's an unimaginable betrayal, and anyone who can do this and sleep at night, they need to be gone. They just need to be gone. And that is exactly how I feel about it. And the A's know that. Absolutely. Next question. You mentioned the quantum computing banking. Would that survive an EMP that many feel will wipe out the financial system? Also, how do we tell the difference between the white hat monetary system change and Executive Order 14067 that puts everyone on the digital dollar surveillance system? And Alex answers, the satellites are all military hardware. So, yes, they will survive an EMP. So that's number one. He says, number two, the executive order you just referred to was signed by a fake president. This isn't even Joe Biden, okay? It's not even Joe Biden, the original Joe Biden. This is the third or fourth iteration of the fake president. So it doesn't matter what he signs. We're not going to be there. We're not going to comply with it because none of it is real. It's all a fucking movie. All of this is being done to wake up humanity to what's been going on around them. Okay? You have to remember this. You have to remember this. The hardships, the things that are coming to par, it's all the old system. It's all the enslavement programs being taken down. That's why we're seeing this shift, this darkness, and this struggle. We're just not keeping things in perspective here. It's all corrupt, which is why it all needs to be replaced and come down. And we're only waking up to it and how corrupt it's really been. Okay? We're not ending this system just to become digital slaves. Right? No, he says, this is not what this is about. So just try to put things in perspective and keep an open mind as this is evolving. As this is evolving. And I like that he's using the word evolve a lot because I've said that in my past videos and people talking about we need a revolution, we need a revolution. And I keep saying you don't want to revolve because that's doing the same thing over again. And it's a cycle. And we're breaking the cycle. We are not revolving, we are evolving. We are moving up and into higher consciousness, into higher frequencies. We won't come back down again. Okay. And he says, you're going to hear a lot of information from a lot of different people. He says, I've said this once and many times, and I'll say it again. Pay attention to what resonates for you. Pay attention to what resonates for you. That is where you're going to find your truth. That is where you're going to find your base and knowledge and experience that you as a soul already have. Learn to trust your intuition. It will never lead you astray, okay? It may lead you to a position you're uncomfortable with, but that's because that's something you need to experience. And there's something there for you to see or something there for you to learn, okay? You're in school here. It's a rescue mission, but we're also in school. So, I'm looking at the chat, and some of these people just haven't got a clue. He says, but that's why they're here, to get a clue, right? And he kind of shakes his head. He says, for example, a crypto system, extraterrestrials using it for millions of years, they don't have a monetary system. So people like this don't know what they're talking about. Cracks me up. It really does. He says it cracks me up. That's why you have to pay attention to what resonates for you, okay? It's really important that you empower yourself with your knowingness, your inner knowing. He says you have to take what's outside and run it through all your filters inside. Yeah, cloudy up there. It says because your higher self is smarter than your ego self. Always has been, always will be. Know the difference between the two. Next question. I've heard the war with Iraq was really about obtaining Nimrod's body. Do you know why it was so important to obtain his body? And are Nimrod and Marduk the same entity? He answers, well, I am aware that was a consideration. However, many of the museums and vaults that were in Iraq contained a great deal of extraterrestrial technology that had been found and recovered during the Crusades and after. And because no one knew exactly what it was or even describe the metallurgy, it was tough to weigh, he says. And basically, Smithsonian, they don't know what it is and can't explain it. So they say, let's just Smithsonian it and bury it somewhere and hide it in a warehouse or a vault or a basement so we don't have to deal with it or to explain. So just like the bones of giants, they were Smithsonian, just like the artifacts taken out of the Grand Canyon. Egyptian, Buddhist, all that stuff was Smithsonian. He said that's really what they wanted. They wanted the technology. They wanted the technology. It says grabbing Nimrod's body. I don't know if that's Marduk or not. I don't suspect that it is. Many years ago, I subscribed to the Smithsonian magazine because they had a lot of good articles in their stuff. And then it was probably a year, maybe less than that. I don't know. At some point, I found out that a lot of the higher up people at Smithsonian's were doing trophy hunting in Africa, and I just thought that's bullshit. That shit pisses me off, trophy hunting. And I'm like, okay, you display all these animals in your museums, or you so claim to like be helping animals and helping endangered animals in the environment, and yet your higher ups are going out doing trophy hunting. So yeah, it pissed me off, and I wrote him a long letter and said, please cancel my subscription because I don't like you guys anymore. Isn't that interesting, huh? They've hidden lots of stuff, and I can't wait for the day where we go in and take all that shit out of their basement, okay, and their vaults, and we get to see what they've been hiding. That will be great. Next question. Will we see teleportation jump rooms in the near future? If so, how soon? And will this be available to all of us? Before I say that, like I've said before, I think we're just going to get to the point because obviously, if beings are still traveling in spaceships and stuff, that's like lower, like that's fourth dimensional. I think as you get into fifth and higher, you don't have vehicles unless you want to experience traveling in a vehicle. But we will be able to ourselves, uh, make that Merkaba around us and that energy field, and we'll just be able to think about wherever we want to go, and we'll just be there. But I do see a point where we will have, and there's been hieroglyphics I've seen. I just can't find those pictures anymore. I don't remember where I saw them, but it showed in Egypt like hieroglyphics of all these different creatures coming through this stargate in and out. So yeah, we were highly advanced in the past. And I think, that's a wonderful way to transport products, okay? We wouldn't need airplanes, we wouldn't need cars, we wouldn't need trucks, trains, any of that stuff. We wouldn't need roads. Can you imagine? Can you imagine a world where we didn't have highways, okay? And we didn't have roads to drive on? Uh, think of all the animals that wouldn't be killed because of vehicles on these roads, and we just have nature growing all around us. Like that's something I picture. I try and picture in my mind, and that's something I want to live in, just nature around us with none of these roads and highways and airplanes and stuff like that. I think it would be just great. But Alex says, now, when you say the near future, says, that actually deserves some interpretation. He says, is it possible that in the next 10, 15, 20 years, we would see jump rooms? He says, yes. They would probably replace air travel, aircraft, maybe not off world, but on Earth. You would go to an airport, and those airports. See, and that's only one thing I kind of disagree. I don't think you'd have to go to an airport. I think if everything is becoming local, I think there might be a local place, maybe a couple local places in your community that will have these rooms or these stargates that you can go through and travel. See, and then if just to transport products to places, you just type in the address, longitude, latitude, whatever, a specific location, and boom, you just push it through. And boom, on the other side, out comes your product. And then people just put it away. Like, oh my gosh, wouldn't that be amazing? He says, so you go to an airport, and those airports would, instead of aircraft, I could foresee jump rooms that are connected to other parts of the planet. And instead of being on an airplane and flying for 11, 12 hours, you would go into a jump room and you'd be there in a matter of minutes. He says, I could absolutely see that being a reality because air travel and that kind of travel can be very physical on the human body, not to mention the fact that you lose a lot of time and days, and airplanes are literally petri dishes with wings. He says, having the ability to raise the oxygen level in every aircraft, but there are laws keeping it where it is, and that's a system that's been broken as well. It's very broken, and I'm not even wanting to get into that today. But yes, I could absolutely see that happening. I don't know if that's in 3 or 4 years, but I say maybe we'd see that in 10. See the first jump rooms. He says that's just what I think. I could be wrong, but a lot of things need to happen between now and then. Okay, because a lot of this technology has been used in a negative field, and that has to change. There has to be a lot of re-education, and a lot of that technology needs to be cleaned up before it's presented to us, because you have to remember we're moving into a positive field. The technology has got to match that field. It has to be positive field, all right? So everything has to be in synchronicity. A holistic approach to living in ways has to come together, and that's just how I see it. This is the next question. I think this is the last question. Once we get humanity on the truth path of oneness and galactic perspectives, are humans going to be called up to go and help restrain the Orion group of feeding off others in the galaxy? Alex answers, it would not surprise me if some members of humanity decided to join the ranks to assist the Alliance and others and clean up and mop up. There are things going on with the AI system that, and he says, it will be over with soon. And he said it again, it will be over with soon. It's going to begin to feed on itself and take itself out. And I think that's what he was talking about previously when the queen died, that they had sent something to the Orion system through the AI and they gave it a gift. The vibes. So yeah, it will be taking itself out. But there still will be a lot of pirates and stuff like that to clean up. He says there will be those that will be profiteers who not only participate in human trafficking but alien trafficking and stuff like that. So it would not at all surprise me that some of us would join the ranks to do something like that, because that's our nature. Our nature is to be the warrior. Our nature is to be the caretaker. Our nature is to be the protector. He says, I mean, there are so many of us who carry that passion, that gene to look after others. So to be the warrior, it wouldn't at all surprise me. Plus, it'd be an opportunity to integrate and to work with other races, to share common experiences and knowledge and learn from them, all kinds of new techniques, etc., and to travel and experience other worlds. I mean, what a remarkable experience that would be. Star Trek, right? Star Trek. Who's meowing? Oh, Binks is all nice down here. Amber, come here. Star Trek. Next question. When do you think Tartaria existed, and who were the inhabitants and the rulers there? Obviously, they were very tall. Um, were they some ET races or hybrids? Thank you. Alex says they were both, and I believe the Tartarians survived the Atlanteans sinking. And I'm going to say that the last pole shift, the only thing that could have covered all this stuff up was what, 7,800 years ago. It wasn't a complete pole shift. I think it was a 41, 42 degree shift, which put it back to where it was supposed to be. But now we're at a 23-degree angle. He says, I'm going to say roughly 7,800 years ago, as we kept time. He says, I know people have other dates and other theories, but you have to understand that Atlantis and Lemuria, their societies far exceeded what we are today. Far exceeded. Atlantis was primarily an extraterrestrial civilization on Earth, and it far exceeded where we are today. I absolutely agree with that. Guess that wasn't the last question. Okay, next one. If the financial system is really breaking apart and you can't count on the government for anything, what about all those people that are getting government checks and have no other means of income but Social Security? I'm waiting for them to step in and say and cutting these people off. Like, what happens if they come in and go, okay, anyone receiving disability, Social Security, Medicare, like, we're cutting you off, no more. Oh, 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 you'd see a lot of people pissed, especially in this town, because a lot of them are on that. He says, that's an excellent question. He says, I'm not exactly sure how all this is going to play out. None of us are. I mean, there are a lot of RV gurus who have been talking all kinds of smack and shit for years and years and years. He says, giving out dates and numbers and rates. He says, they don't know. They really don't know. There's been a handful of people who make up this shit, and then they spread it to everyone else on the planet. He says, we're not going to know until it actually occurs. He says, now, do I believe there's going to be a revaluation of the world's global currencies? I do. Do I also believe blockchain is going to be used? Yes, I do, because that takes the banks out of it, and your wallet will go with you no matter where you are until we evolve out of the monetary system completely. Will we still use precious metals? Yes. We're going to be building new types of technology, and precious metals, particularly silver, are needed for that. We are far from being able to grow organic technology. That is in the distant future. Do I believe that the white hats are have our best interests at heart? I absolutely do, because they're us. They have family. They have grandchildren, and they also know, because of their relationship with off-world benevolence, where we need to go and how this needs to happen. And they've obviously built the relationship through trial and error to come to a place where there's not only mutual respect, but trust. And you can imagine that's taken a while, because when we learn about everything that's been going on here, there's going to be a great deal of broken trust. And that's fine. Walking the talk and proving it is appropriate. He says it's appropriate. And we're soon to be there. We're soon to be there. Will it be between now and the end of this year? I don't know. Will it be into 2023? It could be. I'm absolutely sure it will be between now and 2024. I don't think it'll be beyond December of 2023. I think it's all going to come together before 2024. It has to. But understand, ladies and gentlemen, that there are going to be shifts in the way we did things before into a new way. The old systems are collapsing because they were corrupt and they did not serve the people. Excuse me. All they did was literally enslave and steal our wealth. That's all it was ever about. Even though you might not think it did, it wasn't for the benefit of humanity at all. It was for the benefit of a few. The new systems that are going to be coming in, there will be a great deal of conversation on a local level and a national level, and then on the global level of where we go from here. And we're all going to have to participate, and everyone needs to put in their input. As Richard Pryor used to say, you don't get old being a fool. Well, most of us that are old aren't fools. Therefore, we have some input to share and experience, and the younger generation who thinks they know everything, they're going to come to a place where they don't know shit. But they are going to be the ones who are inheriting the future. So they need to start paying attention, because everything they've been taught is based on socialism and communism is crap. It's all crap. So they're going to have to go back to school, to the school of life, and they're going to be learning from us going forward, and that's just what it is. And they're going to be kicking and screaming. He said, so what? We were too, right? He says, guys, I love you. Thank you so much for attending our 27th Q&A. Remember, keep moving, keep learning, keep on loving. We just got to keep pushing through every single day. And if we do, then everything's going to be all right. All right. God bless. We'll see you next week. Okay. Wonderful. And I just posted today on the Knights of Terra on Telegram. If you haven't heard of Leak Project, Leak Project on YouTube, go check out Rex's page. That man, I don't know how he sleeps. He puts out so many videos a day. And I've watched him for years, and he has so much information about paranormal, about extraterrestrials, about spacecraft. I just posted one he posted yesterday. They found an entrance that looks like a temple entrance to the in the Grand Canyon. It's amazing. So go watch it if you find it. So Leak Project. Yeah. He's kind of a weird guy, but he's awesome, and he has so much information. It'll just blow your mind. Like I had to stop watching him because he just kept putting out like 5 videos a day, and I'm like, how does he do this? How does he have time to do this? Oh my gosh! But he has a lot of good information. Yeah, about everything, Anunnaki, all that stuff, the gods, the Emerald tablets, all that. Like he goes in depth on everything, cryptoids, everything. Um, yeah, all that. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you like this, share this. Hit the like button. Um, yeah, and if you don't see this on YouTube, go to my BitChute page under the same name, Cosmic Metamorphosis, because I don't get censored there. Hopefully, I can post this on YouTube. If they take my channel down on YouTube, I will try to do Cosmic Metamorphosis 2 on YouTube. We'll see. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, guys. Stay positive. I'm so excited. Things are happening big time. So we're just waiting for this next big event to happen. Um, yeah, just keep being that lighthouse and shine your light so that those in the darkness can find their way home. Okay, because they're gonna need us. They're gonna need us real soon. Okay, when the shit hits the fan. So thank you so much for watching. I'm excited because this weekend where we are, it's the Rock and Gem Show. I go every year to spend some birthday money. So anyway, we'll see what finds I can find. But yeah, if you have any questions, email me. Please support Alex, JP, and James. You can go to alexcollier.org or the Bright Eon page. It's Alex Collier Official 2. He does his webinars pretty much every Friday. There's only one weekend a month he doesn't. He takes a break. But yeah, go ahead and support him because this is his information. I just put in, how I feel. Um, I just put in my 2 cents worth, whether I agree or disagree, or certain movies and things that he talks about. This triggers me to think of things I've learned in the past, things I've researched. So anyway, if you have any questions, you can email me. I am sorry I haven't got into my email in a couple weeks since I've been working, so I'll try and get in those sometime in the next couple of weeks. But I love you all so much. Thank you. I want to give you all a great big hug. We're gonna make it, guys. We're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Okay. I have such a great vision of the future. It's unbelievable. Okay, it makes me almost want to cry. So say we all. All right. I love all of you. Thank you. And we'll see you.